Welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan and we are coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio presented by Green Lamb Laminates. Well, we got big news coming through and it's a CNN News 18 exclusive. The centre will introduce the One Nation, One Poll or the ONOP bill in the Lok Sabha and it's most likely to happen on Tuesday. Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal will table the constitutional amendment legislation. Payal Mehta and Ananya Bhatnagar getting us these details, where the Constitution Amendment Bill for holding Lok Sabha and Assembly elections simultaneously is likely to be introduced in Parliament on Tuesday and could be referred to a JPC or the Joint Parliamentary Committee of the two houses. CNN News 18 has also got this exclusive scoop on this bill. Top government sources have told CNN News 18 that 1. The centre is likely to table 2 ONOP bills in the Lok Sabha on Tuesday. Amendments will be made after the President notifies the appointed date. The President is likely to notify the date after the first sitting of the 2029 Lok Sabha polls. That means the implementation of the One Nation, One Poll ONOP is unlikely before 2034. The NDA likely to refer ONOP bills to a JPC. So what are the key amendments that have been envisaged? CNN News 18 will try and decode that for our viewers. Article 83 and Article 172, synchronization. Both Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies will have synchronized terms of 5 years from their respective first meetings. On dissolution and elections, if either the Lok Sabha or a state legislative assembly is dissolved before the completion of its term, provisions will be made for mid-term elections that are synchronized with the overall election schedule. Article 327, simultaneous elections. Now this will be introduced and this will introduce the conduct of simultaneous election for both Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. On delimitation, it allows for delimitation, redrawing of boundaries of constituencies to facilitate the process of simultaneous elections. Even as the opposition fearmongers on One Nation, One Poll, the Prime Minister, while addressing the Samvidhan debate in Parliament on Saturday, made a very strong pitch for ONOP, setting the stage for tabling of this One Nation, One Poll bill, which is said to be a game changer for a Viksit Bharat, because the overall savings that the nation would make if they are able to emerge out of this continuous cycle of elections in one state or the other across the 5 years from Lok Sabha election to Lok Sabha election, amounts to nearly 1 to 1.5% of the GDP. Viewers, we should have Zafar Islam, national spokesperson of the BJP, joining us any moment now. Kamru Chaudhary, political analyst, with us. Ashwini Dubey, advocate, Supreme Court, with us. Vivek Salah, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, should also join us. Ashwini Dubey, Kamru Chaudhary, Namaste, Jai Hind, thank you for your time. Ashwini Dubey, one of the aspects was that the government is committed for ONOP ahead of the 2029 Lok Sabha elections. But now it looks like that they may not do it till 2034.
Because one of the aspect is the delimitation. Second, there are need for certain constitutional amendments. As you rightly said, there is a conflict with Article 83 and 172 because this proposal may require significant amendments to Article 83 and 172, which define the duration of the Houses of Parliament and state legislatures separately. There is a curtailment of President's power also, because proposal may limit the President's power to dissolve the Lok Sabha on the advice of the Prime Minister under Article 85, which potentially altering the balance of power between executive and legislature.
Right.
See, the other point is conflict with anti-defection law. Anandji, the anti-defection provisions under the 10th schedule of the Constitution may be compromised if government are formed on unexpired periods as suggested in the proposal. This could lead to the increased political instability and horse trading. That is why the consensus among the regional parties, the consensus between the different political spectrums and the constitutional challenges and amendments. The representation, not only the constitutional amendment at Anand Bhai, the Representation of People Act is also required to be changed to alter the fixed term of the assemblies and align with election schedules. So these are the basically the challenges which are to be looked into. That can be that the parliament.
But
Yes,
why
now-
does it have to wait till 2029 first sitting of the 2029 Lok Sabha? Zafar Islam of the BJP with us. Zafar Islam ji, we thought it's going to come in after this Lok Sabha in this session. Or is it again now is the BJP getting into the हमें देखना है, हम देख रहे हैं, हम देखते रहेंगे mode?
Not at all. Just do a back testing of all the government, previous government, including BJP and the UPA and the Congress party when they were ruling alone in the country. Which political party has brought so much reforms? Which political party has brought so much structural reforms in the country? It is the Bharatiya Janata Party under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And this is one initiative which nobody has even had the guts to speak about it. We had put it in our manifesto. We are pushing it as our agenda for the development of our nation. And clearly there are many bottlenecks. Not only the legislative bottlenecks, but there are also the political parties also has to come aligned because they are the stakeholders. So we are working with every political parties. The committee has already given report. The government is moving towards that. Whatever time it takes, it will take. It has to take those much time because we have to bring everyone together. Because it is not only the Bharatiya Janata Party or the government has to take decision. It is the election for the nation where every political party has to be. They have to come around and understand because people expect it. Who expect that? Who wants this one nation, one election? It is the people's expectation. It is people's desire. And we are committed to deliver it, no matter how much the bottlenecks have, no matter how much legislative amendments which needs to be brought into the parliament. We will pursue every single hurdles, and we will resolve it to ensure that it becomes a reality. And if you have heard this, the Honorable Prime Minister, you have heard the Honorable Home Minister, they have very candidly accepted it that it will become a reality. They have stated it that this is our. It is not only our agenda, but it is agenda of our people of this great country, and we will deliver it. Under no circumstances we will allow it to wither and put in a back burner, because we know that people are expecting it, and it will bring a lot of benefits to the country, and we have to do it. We will do it.
Right, Kamru Chaudhary.
Well, Anand, basically, the push for one nation, one election represents a significant departure from the principles of federalism and democratic accountability that underpins India's political system out here. We have framed this constitution, we have started this constitution, the constitutional democracy since 1947 under a one nation, one election principle. But over the years, we have departed from it, and there was a need. There is a serious case of accountability. When you hold the national elections separately, that to the state elections, the first point will be the accountability. Every time the political parties go to the people, there is an accountability question out. National issues cannot be clubbed out with the state issues out here. The regional issues are paramount to the states, and that needs to be counted. You cannot count a India-Bangladesh issue in a state elections of Karnataka or let's say in Maharashtra. It needs to be tackled differently. These are national issues. You cannot go on and say that okay, fine, we are having one system and we will be going for that. When Zafar Bhai says out here that Narendra Modi is reform based, but I rather say this: the reform is to suit their agenda. A majoritarian government that we have been fighting for the last 10 years, and this is one of their agenda to bulldoze the democratic system in the country, to get over the regional issues subjugated over the national issues. The main point that I wanted to hear is a step of centralization rather than decentralization, and a step towards a dictatorship.
Okay.
That's my basic opening remarks on this debate.
Right. But, okay, yes, Zafar Islam.
Anand, can I just pose one question?
DG.
See, when he said we are playing with the democratic process, I must ask him, have you noticed the election which was conducted in Andhra Pradesh? have you noticed the election conducted in Odisha and for that matter few other states simultaneously, along with the general election. That time you never have spoken about that we are playing with the democratic process.
Let me complete. Then you speak.
This is
Let's not
something.
speak over each other. Hanji, please complete.
This is something which has been, which was done immediately after the independence, but now after few years, we know the reason why we had to depart, or the situation has made the government to depart from that process, but we must adhere to that process. Yeah, I know there are bottlenecks. We will remove the bottlenecks, but it will only serve the benefit to the people, and it is purely for the purpose of democracy and democratic process which will be followed, not departing from the democratic process which you are making this kind of allegation.
Yeah,
you must
Zafar
understand
bhai,
and appreciate that there are many other states
No,
which
I
are, where
understand your
the election was
rhetorics out
conducted
here.
simultaneously.
No, yeah,
Nobody
Anand,
has
can
a
I come in
problem. People are happy.
Okay.
Yeah, can I come in?
But,
I
okay.
understand Zafar bhai's rhetoric out here.
Right.
Let me just finish one simple question out here. Very fine. You have organized some state elections with the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. It's a very good thing. But why did you have the Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand and other elections in a separate staggered way? Why can't you hold the elections in a single phase election? दम तो है नहीं सिंगल फेज में करने का और एक साथ करने का, आते हैं बड़ा बड़ा बात करने के लिए. But the point here is that you see the biggest democracy in the world, the United States. How does it hold its election? It's also a democratic country, and we are also proud of our own democratic system out here. How does the Senate elects separately, the presidential elections is held separately? The basic is the referendum. Whenever a government goes to the electorate once again, it's a referendum on the policies, what it has done. The state government frames the policies, the laws for the state only. So it's better that the state government goes to the electorate on its own issue.
You have an argument there, but there are also examples where the state and the center, the voter has been discerning enough to vote for them separately. But the other, if you turn the argument on its head, Vivek Silas is also with us, that a state government dissonance or advantage in a state election could also translate into advantage into a national election. Uttar Pradesh being the case in point. If there was a sentiment against Yogi Adityanath in Uttar Pradesh, or what was reflective in the Lok Sabha elections where the Samajwadi Party made such strong gains against the BJP, had the state assembly elections happened at the same time, the Samajwadi Party would have counted its chances higher, saying that okay, we could have performed better even had there been had the UP Vidhan Sabha elections also happened simultaneously. So the counter also is there, that any issue or anti-incumbency at the state level could also hurt or could also help at the national level. Vivek Silas.
You know, I think initially we started with one nation, one election in 1952 where it's eco, please get it rectified.
Yeah.
We started
sorted.
with, yes, one nation, one election in 1952, we went up to 1967, you know.
Yes.
And after that, even the central government was dissolved in 1970 after 3 years and 4 months. When the next government was formed, it was formed for the 5 complete years. If we are going to do this, what the initiative the government of India is going, the Bharatiya Janata Party or the NDA is going to take, it will, how they are going to implement it, they have to, bring a new article, 82A, what they are saying, that the Vidhan Sabha could be extended or Vidhan Sabha should be, it could be lessened, that I don't think it looks very constitutional at the moment. I don't know why the Modi government is adamant to do this, what gains the country is going to have about it, and then it could create a confusion, and moreover you need a 2/3 majority in Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha as well. You need 363 members voting for you, or you need at least 162 members voting for you in the Raj Sabha. So how you are going to pass this bill, or you are going to suspend the member of parliament from the opposition and pass the bill? I don't know how you are going to do it. And today you are not talking about the unemployment, which has reached up to 9.2%. Dollar has gone up to 85 rupees. GDP has fallen to 5.4%. Inflation rate is 6.21%, the highest what is happening? You know, you're not talking about the main issues that the country is facing at the moment.
See,
you're not talking about the farmers, you're not talking about the borders, you are more interested in one nation, one election. I don't know how it's going to help the country.
The crux or the subject matter of debate on this show is one nation, one election, one nation, one poll, because of the exclusive information that we've got. The information that we've got is that this bill will be tabled, or the first sitting will happen on this only after the 2029 Lok Sabha elections, and one nation, one poll may be looked at only for 2034, not for 2029. And this may go into JPC right now. The economic impact of it is 1.5%, up to 1.5% of the GDP is what is the cost of conducting elections, or in this perennial cycle of elections, and how it is being looked at. Not just how much the state spends, but also what the state suspends. Because whenever elections are announced 2 months before and 1 month after, there is no work that happens. All work is suspended, and that hampers development programs. Also, schools, teachers, and the entire administrative setup, which is quasi pulled in by the Electoral Commission to be able to help and aid into conducting or conduct of the election. So if you look at the overall cost to the economy, it's a huge amount, up to 1 to 1.5% of the GDP. That's the estimate. Now, if this is streamlined, and if we as a nation can adopt this one nation, one poll, then what happens is, for 5 years, for the full term, unless something happens and a government has to be changed midterm, or there has to be re-election midterm, there's a government change, what happens is that the focus is on policy. The focus is not on polls. The focus is on trying to bring in administrative reforms or work which will sustain the country or take the country forward in 5 years, not help the political party in the next election. महाराष्ट्र में कुछ करेंगे तो हमें यूपी में फायदा होगा, मध्य प्रदेश में कुछ अनाउंस करेंगे तो हमको वहां फायदा होगा, बगल वाले स्टेट में कुछ जाके भाषण देंगे, कुछ कह देंगे ताकि इधर के चुनाव में. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ साइकिल एंड थॉट प्रोसेस ऑफ शॉर्ट टर्म electoral gains need to change for the long term benefit of the country. That's the overall thought process. Political parties, will they come on board or not, is one part. But Ashwini Dubey, my question and the question subsequent to the BJP is also, if you are so intent and if the intent is clear, why not the debate now? Is the government not in a position or unable to get political parties on board, Ashwini Dubey? अब से लेकर 2029 तक तो 5 साल है. इन 5 साल में आप इसको पास नहीं करा सकते सदन?
बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. 50% consensus of the states is needed, and that the BJP ruling dispensation has a majority in most of the states. So far as the consent of the states are concerned, that they have. Now the questions comes for the 18 constitutional amendments vis-a-vis 83 surplus to 172, 185, that can also be looked into. But there is one thing till 2026, Anand Bhai, there is a state delimitation of constituent assemblies. You see this constituencies, Article 80 surplus 2, that says after the census, if it is census has to be conducted, that can only be conducted after the year 2026. This may be one of the reason if they are thinking about the delimitation. That has become the 84th amendment of the constitution when Arun Jaitley was there. Now, very, very right and very in the larger interest of the country, the debate which you have raised, one is why it is not required for the larger interest of the public at large, because frequent elections lead to massive expenditure for central and state governments both. As you rightly said, that the model code of conduct is implemented throughout the year, 12 mahine, and application of model of code of conduct means that disrupts the normal life of the public. Not only this, टीचर्स की ड्यूटी लगती है उसी में, म्युनिसिपल अथॉरिटी के जो एम्प्लॉइज हैं उनकी ड्यूटी लगती है, पटवारी, तहसीलदार, कलेक्टर, एवरीवन हु हैज टू लुक इनटू द पब्लिक अफेयर्स इज इन्वॉल्वड आइदर इन द म्युनिसिपल इलेक्शन और इन द स्टेट इलेक्शन और द लोक सभा इलेक्शन, लोकल बॉडी इलेक्शन. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑफ आर्म्ड फोर्सेस और द फोर्सेस, दैट इज आल्सो एट पीक, at risk. Number 2, it is not saving the public money. Now you see the state it is affecting the key stakeholders, central government, state government, central employees, teachers, election duties, voters, political parties and candidates. And what exactly in 1999 BP Jeevan Reddy, what has made, he has given a paper, white, saying that the the one nation, one election, if it is implemented, it is beneficial not only for the growth of the country, but even for the growth of the people at large. What is required? The will for power of the government to bring it for the public at large. They abolished this, abrogated Article 370. They have power. Still they are ruling dispensation. They can do it. There are certain amendments which they can look into the constitution.
So let's ask. Yes, let's ask Zafar Islamji then. That when is the next census happening? When is the delimitation happening? How much time are you going to take? And you're saying that you will do it by 2034, wherein you are espousing confidence that you will come back to power in 2029. And fourthly, sir, are you currently saying that you are not able to get political parties on board? The government of the day is not able to get across the alleys and get other political parties in the opposition on board on one nation, one poll, on something which is in the interest of the country. Do you even have support within the NDA for the same?
Anand, there are a few things which I would like to state here. You've heard the representative of Congress party, you've heard the representative of Samajwadi party. What did they say? They said clearly they do not want one nation, one election. Clearly there is a disconnect between the government and the opposition parties because they do not want one nation, one election. But we do not want to impose it. Even if we have the way, but still we do not want to impose it to all the political parties, but we want to bring them along. We want to have a consensus. We want to bring everyone together because it is not for the parties, political parties, but it is for the people and for the betterment of the country and for the betterment of the people of this great country. So these thoughts have to be understood by the political parties. Unfortunately, they have taken a stand which is contrary to what the people's expectations are. But we are confident there will be a meeting of minds. We will be able to bring them, but we will not impose them. That's why the Honorable Prime Minister
what is going to change,
we want
Zafar
consensus.
Islamji, what is going to change between 2024 and 2029, except that the BJP hopes that that 2029 you will be 300 par, because this time you failed to be even 250 par. Frankly, can I just say that it may hurt the way I say it, but is that the bare truth? Is that the bare fact that you are delaying this?
See, we are not overly concerned about our prospect. When you have a government the government and the Honorable Prime Minister who work tirelessly for the betterment of the country, for the welfare of the people, so we are not overly concerned about ourselves. We know exactly people will support us. We will even see the system works for us because we have government in many states. More states than all the opposition parties together. They are ruling in the state. Yet why we want to bring it? As somebody was just explaining, the benefits to the people, benefit to the country, the resources which was
Zafar Islamji,
on
Kamru
these
Chaudhary
elections
raised his hand.
Can be used for the welfare of the people.
Kamru Chaudhary raised his hand.
Let him also.
But let me ask you this, sir. The Waqf Amendment Act, has it gone into cold storage with the JPC and more extensions demanded?
Not at all.
The POW Act 1991, the Supreme Court asked the government to respond and they have said that they will not talk about it till the government responds. Has it gone into cold storage? The one nation, one poll may be tabled in Parliament because the government will then claim that we have shown intent. Then it will go to JPC, again going into cold storage. Now you are saying 2034, after 2029, will it ever see light of day? So increasingly, more and more of the BJP's manifesto and certain bills, are they going into cold storage? Farm bills, you brought it, you retracted it, you said you will bring it back again sometime in the future. Again, has it gone into cold storage?
Anand, I asked you in my opening remarks, tell me, after doing some back testing, which government has brought so much structural reforms and the reforms in the country. It is this government under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji. Which other government? Our intent is not to just tell the people that we want to bring it. We are making it a reality. Women's Reservation Bill. They could never bring. We were able to bring it. GST, they could never bring.
Sir,
They were talking for
you've
years
brought
together.
Sir,
We could
because
bring
you
it.
have brought the bill, that's why the expectation is from you, and that's why you've got the mandate for the third time. But
We will deliver it.
But even with women's reservation bill, sir, till the time the delimitation happens, then the women's reservation bill was supposed to be implemented
So
from
those are the
2020. Lok
constraints.
Sabha. Will it happen?
But
So
it
what's
has
the point
become-
of bringing a bill
it
and
has
not
become
implementing it?
legislation.
You brought CAA 2019. It was listed for 31st December 2020, 31st December 2014 onwards. But the notification happened 4 years after the bill was brought. So what's the point of bringing the bill? Tab tak to by default, as per the citizenship law, they are qualified to become citizens of the country.
Anand, as I said, these are issues which you are talking about. They have become a legislations. Unless you bring the bill in the parliament, it cannot become a law. So we have to make a law first. Then execution will take place. And if there are some bottlenecks while executing those law, we are a country. We have to bring everyone along, and we do not impose it. But there are issues which we have to deal with the people. We deal with the people, but we have delivered it. And we will, it has become reality. Tell me, so many legislations.
Very respectfully, sir, till a law, उस law का मैं क्या करूं जिसका implementation ही ना हो? What am I going to do with a law which is not implemented? One.
Anand, can I come in?
And you may have shown intent, but the intent is complete only when there is implementation, sir. And that is something which everybody will agree. Nobody is questioning your intent. Nobody is questioning your the question we are asking, where is the implementation?
No, I am not talking about intent. And intent is something, when you just want to show intent, you will only speak about it. But we have made a law. The bill has passed. Many things you were talking about,
Sir,
the bill has passed. It has become a law.
You made the law,
needs to
sir,
be
but
implemented.
you notified it.
does take
You
some-
notified it 4 years later.
does.
When
It
as
takes
per
some
the
time.
normal Citizenship Amendment Act itself, they qualify to become citizens of the country. And please tell me, after the notification also, how
Law
many
is not
citizens
made-
have actually got citizenship? You can count them on your fingers. So respectfully, sir, respectfully, that's what I'm saying.
Law is not made for law is not made for one day or one situation. Law is
Okay.
made for the future.
Right.
And it will once implemented, it will only benefit for the times to come.
Okay. Kamru Chaudhary, in the interest of the country, will the Congress push for one nation, one poll?
No, never. We have a stated stand on that.
So are you
Because
saying?
we have,
So
no, I'm not speaking for my party out here, nor am I an official representative of the party, but I can speak for the pulse of the Congress workers of the country. That's all. That's my limitation out here. But you must understand one thing. Congress party from the start had tried to implement the decentralization of the power. We brought in the Panchayati Raj.
Think about it,
No,
sir.
just let me finish.
Think
Just
about
let me
it.
finish.
I have run. I have request with
Okay.
Dursa. I have run out of. I'm just saying, leave this thought with you. Had the Maharashtra and Haryana Vidhan Sabha elections happened with Lok Sabha 2024, would the Congress have hoped to fare better or not? I leave it at
No.
that. I leave it at that.
No,
Thank
can
you.
I- can I have 10 more seconds?
Thank you. I have to. We'll continue this tomorrow once it's tabled in Parliament. We'll take this conversation forward. Namaste to all. Thank you. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, big significant discovery in Sambhal. Stay with us.
A plane up there. Right? You see that? That's an airline. Commercial airline. There you go, another one there. Now, that is not a commercial airliner. It's hovering, it's sitting right there. Alright? And then you got more, a lot more. You got another one over here. Just hovering around, just hanging out. Airlines don't just hang out, and those aren't helicopters. You got several over here now that are flying around. Two there are flying, one's hovering. there. Right? You see that? That's an airline. Commercial airline. There you go, another one there. Now, that is not a commercial airliner. It's hovering, it's sitting right there. All right? And then you got more, a lot more. You got another one over here. Just hovering around, just hanging out. Airlines don't just hang out, and those aren't helicopters. You got several over here now that are flying around. Two there are flying, one's hovering.
Days after the Sambhal violence marred Uttar Pradesh's Sambhal district, several significant finds have been uncovered in this entire region. Murtis of Hindu deities were recovered from a well near a Shiv Hanuman temple, which is now being called the old Sambhaleshwar Mandir. That's what's been named, and it's very close to that, and it's in that Begusarai area itself, very close to the Jama Masjid, that disputed area which is supposed to be under the ASI, and where believers of Kalki believe that he's supposed to be born there. There used to exist a Harihar temple. Now this temple, which has remained obscured for nearly 5 decades by illegal structures, was opened for the first time since 1978 as part of an anti-encroachment drive by the Sambhal administration. In 1978, this region, Sambhal, was marred by massive riots, and reportedly there were a huge number of Hindu families that were forced to leave this place and move out, and many believe that from that time onwards this temple has been shut down. The discovery was made when the administration, during debris removal operations, unearthed a well near a Shiv Hanuman temple. Sambhal additional ASP informed that the debris had been dumped into the well over the years. Upon clearing the debris, idols of Hindu gods were recovered, of Parvati, a broken murti of hers, of Kartikeya, and also of Ganesh. Now, several news reports are saying that the third one might be of Parvati. That's what we just told you. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, while talking about the incident in the UP Assembly earlier in the day, hit out at earlier government, saying 209 Hindus were killed in Sambhal since 1947, and that Sambhal has been continuously disturbed since 1947, and that 815 communal riots resulted in 192 deaths between 2012 to 2017 during the Samajwadi Party regime.
ये देशी और विदेशी मुसलमानों की आपसी भिड़ंत है जो वर्षों की लड़ाई को लेकर के वहां चल रहा है। ये संभल में दंगों का जो इतिहास है 1947 से ही प्रारंभ होता है। 1947 से लेकर के अब तक 209 हिंदुओं की निर्मम हत्या वहां हुई है। संभल के अंदर 209 हिंदुओं की। और याद रखना, जिसने पत्थरबाजी की होगी, जिसने माहौल खराब किया होगा, उसमें एक भी बचने वाला भी नहीं है।
Now, Bharat is also ready, staying with Uttar Pradesh, Bharat is also ready for the world's largest public gathering and collective act of faith, the Mahakumbh 2025, which is set to begin from the 13th of January, just at the onset of Makar Sankranti. Watch the biggest coverage of the confluence of faith, the Mahakumbh, only on News 18 Kumbh, the YouTube channel specially launched for covering all that is Mahakumbh. And it's gone live from 5 p.m. this evening, and it'll be a one-stop shop for all news and updates ahead of and during the festival of faith and devotion, the Mahakumbh 2025.
आस्था का ये पर्व है, देश का ये गर्व है। आस्था का ये पर्व है, देश का ये गर्व है। धरती का ये श्रृंगार है, मोक्ष का ये द्वार है। ये महाकुंभ है, ये महाकुंभ है, रम जाओ भक्ति में, अमृत का कुंड है। ये महाकुंभ है, ये महाकुंभ है, रम जाओ भक्ति में, अमृत का कुंड है। ये महाकुंभ है, ये महाकुंभ है।
Mahakumbh's biggest coverage on News 18 Kumbh YouTube channel.
ये महाकुंभ है, रम जाओ भक्ति में, अमृत का कुंड है।
Watch the nation's biggest network's unique Kumbh coverage only on News 18 Kumbh YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, scan the QR code from the screen and immediately subscribe to News 18 Kumbh on YouTube. Short break. When we are back, the scenes that we see in our neighborhood is not what we desired when Bharat helped liberate Bangladesh. Did Bharat let Bangladesh forget? Stay with us.
A plane up there. Right? You see that? That's an airline. Commercial airline. There you go, another one there. Now, that is not a commercial airliner. It's hovering, it's sitting right there. Alright? And then you got more, a lot more. You got another one over here. Just hovering around, just hanging out. Airlines don't just hang out, and those aren't helicopters. You got several over here now that are flying around. Two there are flying, one's hovering. plane up there. Right? You see that? That's an airline. Commercial airline. There you go, another one there. Now, that is not a commercial airliner. It's hovering, it's sitting right there. All right? And then you got more, a lot more. You got another one over here. Just hovering around, just hanging out. Airlines don't just hang out, and those aren't helicopters. You got several over here now that are flying around. Two there are flying, one's hovering.
On this day, in the year 1971, 16th of December 1971, a nation was born in Bharat's neighborhood with Bharat's support. Bangladesh marks Vijay Divas, when it was freed from the clutches of Pakistan. But what we see in our neighborhood today in 2024 is not the Bangladesh Bharat liberated. Did Bharat let Bangladesh forget? There's a resurgence of Islamist extremism. There's grave threat to regional stability. The current interim government under Muhammad Yunus doesn't refrain from showing leniency towards radical groups. The ban on Jamaat-e-Islami has been lifted. Extremists have been allowed to resurface with impunity. Harkatul Jihad, Ansar Bangla team are preparing for attacks against Bharat. Radical groups are threatening bases in Assam and Kolkata. The economic partnerships and projects are almost on the brink. The initiatives fostering mutual growth have almost become a thing of the past, and the new radical government is seen cozying up with entities inimical to Bharat. A firmer strategy by Bharat after Bangladesh's liberation could have perhaps ensured regional stability. What Bharat couldn't do earlier and what Bharat should do now to help maintain regional stability is develop a fresh strategy for engagement to also show that in this region, peace will be maintained and the borders will be safe, trade will happen, economics will happen, people will flourish, humanity will flourish only if there is an alignment with the vision that Bharat sets. Can there be the possibility to maintain open dialogue with all political groups? Can Bharat broaden diplomatic outreach, maintain an assertive, balanced and carefully calibrated response, make it clear on action against Hindu persecution, use Bharat's economic might as a bargaining chip, raise the issue of terror groups along the border, counter Bangladesh's aligning with China-Pakistan axis, leverage the position as a regional leader. More importantly, hegemonistic forces thousands of miles away, can they sit there and call the shots when Bharat is right there in the neighborhood? Hindol Sen Gupta, historian with us, Ambassador Deepak Vora with us. My namaste and Jai Hind. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Could we have done better, Ambassador Deepak Vora? Or should we look at our foreign policy and the fate of the people, not just this nation, the rest, based on who is in politics or who's on the chair there?
Thank you very much, Mr. Narasimhan. If I may say so from the bottom of my heart, you are brilliant, the way you put it across. You bowl me over and I'm at a loss for words. And I am as a loss for words. That's saying something. But thank you very much. It's absolutely outstanding. Let me tell you a little bit, give me a couple of minutes. One of the first things we learn in the Foreign Service is the Schwarzenberg principle, Felix Schwarzenberg. This is in the middle of the 19th century. The Magyars, the Hungarians, were beating up the Austrian emperor. There was the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. And all these chaps in Europe were uncles, aunties, cousins, nephews, sons-in-law, fathers-in-law of each other. So he appealed to the Tsar of Russia. He said, buddy, help me, these fellows are clobbering me. Tsar sent in his Cossacks, great fighters, and they thrashed the Magyars. Thereafter, Felix Schwarzenberg, I think middle of the 19th century, was asked, now you will be eternally grateful to Russia. He said, Austria will surprise the world with its ingratitude. So the first thing is, don't expect the most bracing statement in international relations that I have learned is the first thing we teach our kids. You've come in, you're going into the service, don't ever expect anyone to be grateful to you. Sir, when I first went to Bangladesh, and that was about 30 years ago, already there were voices being raised saying that, look, two brothers were fighting, that's Pakistan and Bangladesh, why did you intervene? And we said, your brother was doing all kinds of funny things to your wives and daughters and mothers and sisters, and then your leaders begged us to intervene, and I had 10 million of you fellows in Tripura and northeastern India. The Pakistanis would have had you for breakfast. We were protecting you, etc., etc. But that I realized that the narrative was slowly changing because that Ershad fellow had Islamized Bangladesh, and also, it became a member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, etc. Then you might remember some years ago was the Chittagong arms arrest, the biggest ever in our neighborhood, and all that was meant for the rebels in Assam. The idea was to destabilize our northeast. Huge, huge, huge. And of course, you know who paid the money. Bangladesh didn't have the money. It was during Sheikh Hasina's time. It was your uncle and mine across the pond, as we say, who was funding the whole thing. So this, having said this, that one should not expect anything. Now, what kind of leverage do we have with the atrocities being committed against minorities, the Hindus? Sir, the most important is our economic strength, what I refer to as the triple lock. Bilaterally, we can force the disaster of Dhaka, a fellow called Muhammad, whatever Khan, that he has to understand that we can really hurt them badly already. Their garments industry, as you know better than I do what's happening to it. And I've been speaking to my friends in Bangladesh. The second is international pressure. Hitting minorities is a war crime, sir. And if he's not able to do it, then the third lock, which is responsibility to protect. A UN-sanctioned movement from 2005 after the Rwanda crisis. We've done it in Kyrgyzstan, we've done it in Kenya, we've done it a number of places. Where if the local government, the host government is not able to protect the minorities, anybody else can go in to protect them without even by your leave. Now that is the ultimate sword of democracy. I don't know whether we'll use it, but I think at the moment the contacts are taking place. And finally, sir, something very interesting. You've heard of the Arakan army.
Yes.
I know the Arakanis. Hardcore Buddhists. And if there's one thing they detest, and I'm saying this on behalf of the Arakanis, I'm not saying it from as something personal. They detest Islam. They detest the Bangladeshis. They detest the Rohingyas. Now, there are not many fighters. The Arakanis maybe 10,000, 20,000, but they are on the border with Bangladesh. They have controlled that. The Myanmarese army has run away, was asked to leave. And these guys are going to play merry hell into Bangladesh's border. They'll come running to us, sir, the fellows in Dhaka, saying help. Whether we should help or not, there are wiser minds than mine sitting in Delhi, and they will decide. But Bangladesh is going to be under enormous pressure in the coming few weeks, sir.
True. So Hindol Sengupta, agree, disagree with Ambassador Deepak Ora. The other aspect is when the liberation happened, at that time said it's culture and language that binds us. But now, has that now been thrown to the winds? Is this a continuum of a thought process that now seems to dominate, and it doesn't matter because they've opened passage to the very same people they broke away from?
No, this was obviously always going to happen, Anand. As always, when Sheikh Hasina left Bangladesh, the whole drumbeat, Indians, a part of a group of Indians take cues from the West, and they immediately began to beat the drumbeat saying, oh my God, look, here's a monsoon revolution, which is complete rubbish. I remember hearing academics say that we want to dispel that this has anything to do with Islamic radicals. I mean, if quote unquote academics say these things, then what can one say? I mean, we're living in a fool's paradise. Today, please remember, Anand, today in Bangladesh, they want to relook at the flag. They want to relook at the constitution. Even the Bangladesh Supreme Court has said Joy Bangla, the great slogan of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, will no longer be used. So this is going towards a particular direction, as we have said again and again, including on this show. Muhammad Yunus has no street power in Bangladesh. In fact, funnily enough, something Muhammad Yunus said, something very innocuous about the Prophet. Some groups in Bangladesh want to prosecute him now about that. So, and Bangladesh will face a lot of trouble. The ambassador is right in pointing out what's happening on their borders. That will very soon go out of control. And Bangladesh has very little resources. Everything, a large amount of even the food stuff that they have, a lot of it comes from India. So India has a lot of leverage in Bangladesh. We obviously don't want to use it, but there's going to be trouble in our eastern borders, much more trouble. Yeah. And I have a feeling that Muhammad Yunus will not be able to control this. The BNP, you would have noticed, Anand, is already sounding very cautious because the BNP see now that the interim government is not so interim after all. So there's going to be a lot of volatility in Bangladesh. We should be careful about that, and certainly this is going to go downhill.
But Ambassador Deepak Ora, the Chinese are very, very surprisingly quiet. You pointed to the uncle on the other side of the pond who's engineered all of this. They were responsible even in the 1970s, and thereafter with whatever problems we saw in our borders in our area, somewhere their hand is manifest even this time around with what's happening in Manipur and Mizoram. So how do the dynamics change? And this is around the time that the NSA is going to travel to Beijing to have a chat about resolving issues between our own undefined borders with the Chinese occupied territory.
That is the nightmare of the parallel government, the state within a state across the pond. Now, one thing that when we talk of deep state, these are not chaps who are anti-America. These are very hardcore patriotic Americans. They are anti the elected government, and it consists of the CIA, the FBI, Defense Department, the Foreign Office, and businesses and newspapers and media channels and so on. They are the guys. They are. Sir, do you remember a chap called Barack Obama?
Yes.
He had promised to shut down Guantanamo Bay within a week of becoming president and release all those Al-Qaeda fellows there. 8 years later, he wasn't able to lift a little finger to do anything. The deep state totally paralyzed him. And Donald Trump has talked about draining the swamp, etc. So these guys, no question, are calling the shots. Now, with China, they are terrified that India is not warming up, but India is attempting to normalize relations with China, and China is doing likewise. So the Ukraine crisis is over. Russia has won. There's no doubt about that. And that fellow whom I call Beginsky, because he's always begging everybody, went off to Paris to ask Macron and Trump, and they said, get lost. He asked the Brits, they said, get lost. So he's not going to get anything. That game is over. Now the focus will be on trying to weaken China. And if India warms up to China and China warms up to India, the deep state is going to be very, very upset about this. So my own feeling at this point of time is that Bangladesh, and forgive me, I'm using an American expression, Bangladesh is up shit creek without a paddle. Please forgive me the profanity, but this is a very popular American expression, that you're in the daldal, और आपकी नाव में चप्पू भी नहीं है. So how are you going to get out of that daldal? This is what Bangladesh finds itself with. The Chinese will not intervene. Finally, sir, you referred to the BNP. The lady there who's very old and ailing, she wants her son to be the prime minister. Not today, not tomorrow, but yesterday. And Mohammed Yunus Khan wants another 4 years or 3 years or 5 years or whatever of a permanently interim government till he's 90 years old. He won't move before that. So they are going to fight. I give you the example of Syria. You had this Jolani character and some others who came in and said, Assad is gone, brother, darling, darling. Now they are lobbing shells at each other. This I have seen around the world where a government changes through violence, through protest, through demonstration. And those guys who are united against a common enemy, when the common enemy is removed from the scene, they begin to fight with each other. We are seeing this happening in Bangladesh, sir.
One of the aspects is, Hindul Sen Gupta, as you said, what does that augur for Bharat? And is there a learning for us? The next time we try and get into and help, should we just help and then leave, or should we always ensure that our influence remains? How is it that we were not able to foresee what was going to be engineered in Bangladesh? How is it that we were not able to counter and mitigate those circumstances? And this has been engineered all around us. It happened in Sri Lanka, it happened in Maldives, it happened in Pakistan, it's happened in Bangladesh, it's also attempted in Nepal. And every time we have to wait 6 months later, 1 year later, they're coming back. But can we do this post facto? Or should we ensure that this doesn't happen in the first place? Because just like We can't enter anywhere into the Atlantic. Transatlantic, nothing happens. The Russians landed at Cuba and the Monroe Act was invoked and America threatened nuclear weapons, right? So why is it that any other nation can come here and control things halfway around the world? What are we doing? Isn't that a fair question to ask of ourselves?
No, of course. But part of the reason, of course, Anand, as you well know, is that we are still at barely $3,000 per capita. I mean, if we were at $10,000 per capita and our defense indigenization were at a different level, the whole game would be different. Having said that, I want to take off from what Ambassador Vora said, because a lot of people don't say this, and some of us have said this for a long time, and he's absolutely right. You see, the greatest nightmare of the people that Ambassador Vora calls our friends across the pond is, in a sense, a Sino-Indo sort of, some sort of rapprochement. And one of the things that has worried them for a long time about Prime Minister Modi is that Prime Minister Modi is somebody who really wants to get things done. And, nothing is off the table. So tomorrow, if this means that some sort of negotiated border settlement will have to be done with the Chinese, well, it's on the table. And that's not what certain kinds of deep states ever want. They don't, this is the stuff of nightmare, right? Asia, where China and India have built some sort of understanding among themselves. That's the stuff of nightmares for many people around the world. There is one thing, and Ambassador Vora will bear with me on this. Remember, in geopolitics, ambiguity is a very important tool. And I think India must keep certain ambiguities alive.
Right.
This ambiguity helps us in many, many ways. Even in nuclear, I have to teach my students nuclear weapons. Ambiguity is very important there too. So ambiguity in whatever we are saying, ambiguity is a very important tool, apart from, of course, our hard tools.
Well, so strategic autonomy should also be strategic ambiguity. So SA can stand for both. Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Short but sharp, as always. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
Winding up this edition of The Right Stand, Zaka ready with brass tacks.
Greenlam Laminates presents CNN News 18 Primetime Studio.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks with me, Zaka Jacob, and we're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio presented by Greenlam Laminates. Time and again, the Congress party has blamed the electronic voting machines or EVMs for their loss in elections, whether it's in Haryana or more recently in Maharashtra. But today, the Congress party's very demand for going back to the ballot paper has been met with a discordant note by one of its own allies. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Umar Abdullah has said that it's not right to blame the EVMs alone after a loss, and particularly more so just after losses. The TMC too now has chimed in and joined Umar Abdullah in this bandwagon. The TMC's leader Abhishek Banerjee, and Member of Parliament from Diamond Harbour, he says that those questioning the EVMs must also be able to furnish proof. Even as allies seem to be striking a different note from the Congress party on the question of electronic voting machines and whether they can be manipulated